Edge Sanctuary is a speculative civic hub imagined for the year 2020-200. It sits within a global network of quiet communal spaces where people gather through choice rather than necessity. In this future, travel is instant and clean fusion energy is widely available, allowing architecture to focus on comfort, atmosphere, and connection to the landscape. Several key technologies shape the world around this project. Fusion provides consistent and reliable power with almost no waste. With energy no longer a limiting factor, design can prioritize environmental comfort instead of efficiency targets. Portal travel removes the need for roads and long commutes. Settlements can be placed directly within their landscapes, and the experience of arrival becomes a deliberate moment of pause instead of a logistical process. Biological materials are used to grow architecture in place. These living systems can repair themselves, respond to climate, and settle naturally into the terrain. Buildings behave more like part of the environment than separate objects. Adaptive design tools support responsive openings and surfaces that adjust with light, temperature, and wind. The architecture works with natural forces rather than trying to override them. Programmable matter allows interior and structural elements to shift over time. Spaces can be reconfigured as community needs evolve, making the building flexible instead of fixed. Together, these technologies create the conditions for an architecture shaped by ecology, climate, and human experience. Edge Sanctuary emerges from this world as a place to slow down, reconnect, and engage meaningfully with both people and landscape. Architectural proposal and context. Edge Sanctuary sits on the edge of a steep mountain escarpment. The site is defined by exposed stone, dramatic elevation changes, and wide views across the valley. The proposal takes advantage of this setting by positioning the building as a quiet civic node within a wider distributed network of communities. Each community is connected through portal travel, but the role of the sanctuary is to support gathering, learning, and reflection in a landscape that encourages people to slow down. Arrival is a deliberate experience. Visitors step through a controlled threshold and pause before entering the open mountain air. This moment of adjustment is important. It helps people transition from a world of instant movement to a place that values stillness and presence. The architecture reinforces this shift by growing outward from the rock substrate rather than being placed on top of it. The building uses biofabricated and adaptive material systems that respond to climate, terrain, and light. Openings adjust naturally throughout the day, and surfaces breathe and regulate comfort without heavy mechanical systems. Interior and exterior spaces are woven together so that circulation feels continuous, moving from sheltered chambers to exposed terraces and open sky. Edge Sanctuary acts as a meeting point between landscapes and communities. It is not a destination in the traditional sense because travel is instant. Instead, its value comes from the way it frames experience. It supports cultural identity, shared presence, and ecological connection in a world where mobility has no limits. The design encourages people to slow down, look outward toward the valley, and participate in a collective place that grows from the landscape itself. Ground floor. The ground floor introduces the main spatial character of the sanctuary. The plan grows out from the escarpment, creating a transition from the exposed mountain into sheltered interior spaces. Large circular openings bring daylight and planting into the center of the building, and these voids guide both movement and atmosphere throughout the level. Circulation follows gentle curves that move around the planted cores. This creates a steady natural flow instead of rigid corridors. As people walk through the space, the geometry reveals shifting light, soft shadows, and occasional framed views toward the valley. Communal spaces are arranged around the central openings. They support quiet learning, conversation, and small gatherings, while keeping people close to natural light and vegetation. Rounded edges and softened transitions help maintain a calm and comfortable interior environment. The ground plane adjusts subtly to follow the underlying rock, allowing the building to settle into the landscape. This variation helps regulate internal temperature and creates distinct pockets of space without needing partitions. Portal nodes sit where movement naturally converges, but they remain unobtrusive so the focus stays on the building's relationship with light, planting, and the mountain. Framed outlooks connect the interior to the broader landscape, while the biological materials and curved forms create a warm atmospheric quality as light moves across them. Overall, this level establishes the core experience of the sanctuary. It brings together geology, planting, and community in a space designed to encourage slower movement, quiet reflection, and a sense of shared presence. First floor. The first floor continues the spatial ideas introduced below, extending them into quieter and more elevated areas. The plan is shaped around the same central openings as the ground floor, but here they create a clearer vertical connection. Light from the skylights moves through these voids and softens the interior surfaces throughout the day. Circulation follows curved paths along the edges of the openings, guiding people toward a mix of enclosed rooms and open terraces. Each route offers new views across the internal volumes and outward toward the valley, creating a balance between sheltered interior spaces and outward-facing moments of pause. Smaller alcoves sit along the interior edge and support reading, quiet work, and small conversations. They remain visually connected to the larger areas while providing enough enclosure for privacy. Rounded forms and protective overhangs help maintain a calm acoustic quality. Terraces open directly to the mountain air and frame elevated views. These outdoor areas contrast with the warmer interior rooms and reinforce the connection to climate and season. The shift between inside and outside is simple and continuous, so the experience begins to feel more like moving through a landscape than through a traditional building. Openings along the facade respond to orientation. Some capture gentle daylight, while others shelter the interior from stronger winds moving across the escarpment. This creates a comfortable environment without relying on heavy mechanical systems. As people move through the first floor, they encounter a sequence of light, shadow, and changing spatial volumes. The level supports quieter activities and encourages slower movement, taking advantage of its elevated position and calm interior character. It continues the project's intention to blend internal comfort with a close relationship to the terrain, making the sanctuary feel both grounded and open to the landscape. The section reveals how the sanctuary manages light, temperature, and interior comfort through a combination of biological and mineral systems. The main walls are formed from porous composites and mycelium-based material that absorb and release moisture in a gradual way. This slow exchange helps stabilize humidity and temperature across the internal spaces without relying on mechanical conditioning. Daylight enters from the upper openings and moves down through the central voids. As the light travels across the curved surfaces, it softens the atmosphere and highlights the planted areas at the center of each floor. These openings also guide natural air movement, with warmer air rising and cooler air settling closer to the rock, creating a balanced internal climate. Movement within the building follows gentle changes in floor height that respond to the terrain. These shifts define different pockets of space and guide circulation without the need for partitions. The curved forms and surface textures support a calm spatial quality and maintain a steady rhythm as people move through the interior. The elevations express this internal logic on the outside. The exterior surfaces have a softened and eroded character that follows the natural shape of the escarpment. Openings in the facade are positioned according to orientation, daylight, and views, which gives the building an adaptive and landscape-driven appearance rather than a uniform pattern. In the perspective view, the structure appears settled into the mountain. Rounded forms and earthy materials help it blend with the surrounding stone, while the openings reveal glimpses of interior planting and filtered light. The boundary between inside and outside feels gentle and closely tied to the terrain. The section highlights the relationship between light, climate, and material behavior. These elements work together with the planted voids and the mass of the escarpment to shape an environment that feels grounded, comfortable, and connected to the broader landscape. The upper section shows how the sanctuary opens toward the sky and the broader landscape. The geometry becomes lighter and the volumes expand, allowing more daylight to reach the interior. The planted voids remain at the center of the experience, but here they create a clearer connection between the two levels. Light passes through the openings above and moves across the curved surfaces, giving the upper spaces a calm and steady brightness throughout the day. As the building rises, the relationship to the escarpment becomes more visible. The rock face sits close to the interior in some areas, creating moments of enclosure, while other areas shift outward to reveal views across the valley. These changes in proximity give the space a gentle rhythm that feels connected to the contours of the mountain. Circulation follows this rhythm. Paths curve around the planted cores and lead toward elevated terraces and smaller rooms that support quiet activities. The shift from enclosed interior areas to open terraces helps create a layered transition between inside and outside. Each step feels lightly shaped by climate, light, and topography rather than by rigid architectural boundaries. Material behavior also changes slightly at this level. The biological composites become thinner and more porous to encourage airflow and soften the way light enters. These transitions are subtle, but they help maintain comfort and create an environment that feels calm and breathable. The curved forms and natural variations in texture reinforce the sense that the building responds gently to climate and season. The exterior expression aligns closely with what is happening inside. The upper elevations reveal softened openings and rounded profiles that relate to the interior volumes. These shapes guide views toward the sky and the valley, and they let the exterior read as an extension of the interior experience. The perspective view reflects this, showing how the lighter upper forms sit comfortably within the broader landscape. The section as a whole describes a vertical sequence shaped by light, vegetation, and the mass of the escarpment. Each area has its own atmosphere, yet all are linked by the planted cores and the way the structure opens to the surrounding environment. The result is a set of spaces that feel grounded, balanced, and closely connected to the landscape that supports them.